Hello and welcome to the Northern Star Fire Training video. I will spend the next several minutes covering everything that you need to know to successfully use the Northern Star in an emergency setting. So let's get to it. For starters, everyone should be issued a Northern Star inside of a box that looks just like this. Inside that box, you'll find a series of different items. You'll have 2 batteries. You'll use one at a time, but we give you 2 so you can swap out easily. Then you'll have your Northern Star itself, which is the compass, in addition to your box. And then underneath the Northern Star itself, you will also have a piece of 3M fire-rated tape. And this is the tape that we will use to attach the Northern Star to the inside of your face lens. So, for starters, let's talk about the unit itself. The Northern Star is an 8-directional electronic compass that helps you maintain your orientation inside of a fire or anywhere where there's low visibility. We know that firefighters, when we go inside of our structures to attack the fire, oftentimes become disoriented or lost due to the fact that we don't understand the floor plan. We probably have not been inside the structure before, and with all the smoke and zero visibility, we can get turned around very easy. So this device will do 2 things for us. First, it's going to allow us to navigate inside the structure more efficiently and safer. So if your incident commander tells you to go to the back side of the house, you know which way the back side of the house is based on your Northern Star. If they tell you to go to the bedroom in the far corner of the house, you know which way the bedroom is based on your Northern Star. It all comes down to, before you go into the house, you have to take a second on the front porch or the entry door that you're going to go in and make a visualization of which way the way out is, which way the front of the house is facing. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more toward the end of this video. But what I'd like to cover first is just how it works. All right. So the Northern Star opens very simply. It goes together and opens up like Tupperware. And we simply are going to take our thumb and we're going to push the housing off, which exposes the 2 different pieces. It's as easy as that. To put it back together, we're going to push them. There's no twisting, there's no turning. You push it back together and you'll hear the snap, and now it's back together. What some people will do wrong is they will take this housing right here and they will peel it down. You do not need to peel it down. You push it off. Very simple. Put it back together. Okay, so that's how you open and close it. So as I open it again, I'm going to push it off. I need to install my battery. So you'll notice only 1 battery is used at a time. You have a very shiny side, which is the positive, and then you have the rough side, which is the negative. To install it, we're going to take the battery and we're going to slip it underneath this tab like so. So the shiny side, or the positive side, is facing outward. And then we're going to take our back housing and we are going to clip it together. Now, that's how the battery is installed. The great thing about this battery is that it's a rechargeable lithium-ion battery. When it's fully charged, you'll have about 7 hours of continuous runtime. But that's 7 hours of the Northern Star actually being on. Right now, it is not on. Right now, there is no battery draw. We have to turn it on in order to have it start drawing its battery. So as your mask or the Northern Star sits in your locker or sits in your truck, it will not be on, it will not be drawing battery. And that's one of the genius things about it. So we should not have battery problems. To turn it on, we use an accelerometer and a shock switch. So we have to do it in conjunction with one another. So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to take your battery and install it inside your Northern Star now. You can pause the video and wait for everyone to install their battery. Now that we've had the battery installed, the next thing to do is to activate the shock sensor. And it's going to be very difficult for me to show you this on camera, but now that you have your Northern Star in front of you, you can do this yourself. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to take my finger and I'm going to tap it. That's it. And when you tap it, you'll see a flicker of light, a very brief flicker of light every single time you tap it. That flicker of light is the shock sensor telling the accelerometer inside the Northern Star to look for firefighter-like motion. Now, I did not show it firefighter-like motion, so it immediately goes back to bed, and it goes back to a 0 battery draw within 1 second. We designed this specifically so if you're driving down the road, or if you bump your mask, and we somehow shock this, and it doesn't see the movement, we're not wasting our battery. So that it's designed to not turn on when it's initially shocked. But when we shock it and then immediately move it, that's when it comes on. So when I shock it and then I shake it, you'll see now it comes on. And that's really important to understand. So we cannot shock it and then look at it and then shake it. We cannot shock it and then move it slowly. We want to shake it like a can of spray paint or some type of aerosol can that we would have to shake up. So it's a shock and then a shake and then it comes on. It does not need to be calibrated. It will stay, it'll immediately start reading its heading. When you install this in your mask, you want to make sure that the N is always in the upward position, pointing up. That way as you turn, the N is always in the upward position, the colors on the letters will change. So if you're standing like this and you see the N is illuminated, that means you're facing north. As you turn, you'll see the N and the W illuminated. That means you're facing northwest. You turn some more and then the W will be illuminated, which means you're facing west. And it will continue to read it for you. It does not matter if you are flat on the ground crawling or if you're standing up like this. Either way, there's a gyroscope that takes into account your angle and will allow the Northern Star to give you a meaningful and accurate heading. This has remained accurate. Our magnetometer has remained accurate in very hostile conditions. In basements, in sub-basements, 200 feet below the ocean's floor, in warships, elevator shafts, concrete buildings, bunkers. We have a magnetometer inside of this that will filter out all that man-made interference, whether it's concrete or metal, and it will get down to the root of cardinal direction and be accurate with your Northern Star heading. Now we shut it off by, it's very simple, we stop moving. So if we take this Northern Star and we set it down on the table, in 3 minutes of no activity, it shuts itself all the way back off and goes to a 0-0 battery draw. So we've included that in there because we know us firefighters sometimes will, when we come out of the fire, we'll set our mask down and we'll go get some air or some water or take a break, and we might forget to turn this off. So this way it'll turn itself off for you. So anytime, again, 3 minutes of no activity, no movement, it'll shut itself back off for you. As long as you keep moving, it will stay on. All right? The only way for you to shut it off is to not move. If you wanted to shut it off prematurely and didn't want to wait the 3 minutes, you could open the housing, disengage the battery, and then clip it back together. That would shut it off for you if you want to practice that. If you want to practice turning it on, that's a good way of doing it. Turn it on, take it apart, clip it back together, and turn it on again. All right. It has a low battery sensor in it. So if you know anything about lithium-ion batteries, they work and they work and they work and they work very well, and then they stop working very abruptly. You probably have seen this maybe in your cordless drill or screwdriver. They stop very, very suddenly, and there's no difference in the operation of this lithium-ion battery. So as the battery gets very low on its power, all 4 lights will flash at you instantaneously every 15 seconds. So if you see all 4 lights flash at you at the same time, that means you have a low battery and you should swap it out. But our recommendation is that you change batteries. Remember, we're giving you 2. Change the battery every single time you use your Northern Star, or also change it on the first of every single month. That way you always know you have a fresh battery inside, and it should not be turning on when you don't want it to turn on. The second battery you have, you could keep on the fire truck or somewhere else, so in the event that this battery was dead, you'd have a second one available to you at all times. It will also have what we call a low confidence regulator. So in the event that this device gets confused, maybe you're near a high power generator, maybe you're near a medical MRI machine, or maybe you're just in some weird heavily insulated metal building and this can no longer justify which way north, south, east, and west is. In that case, the heading will flash at you. Consistently will flash at you over and over and over again. And that's this device's way of telling you that it thinks you might be going in that direction, but it's not entirely sure. Now, if it just flashes at you once or twice, that's normal, that's no big deal. You can still rely on the heading. But if it flashes at you 10, 20 times, that's your indication to know this device is not sure which way it's going anymore. And a good way for you to see that is turn the device on and set it down on the table in front of you. After about 30 seconds, it's going to start flashing at you. And that flashing is the same identifier telling you that it's not confident. Now, the reason it's flashing at you when you set it down on the table is that the magnetometers like to move. And every single time you move, it senses where north is and it reassures itself that it's accurate. But as soon as you set it down and you don't move at all, now the device becomes a little bit unconfident in its heading, and you'll see that flashing. As soon as it starts flashing, you can simply move it from side to side and you'll see it'll stop flashing right away because it regains its confidence. I hope that makes sense for you. What else should we talk about? So those are the pros of the Northern Star. It's the only directional device out there for firefighters that we know of. And I will next go over how to install it in your mask. Alright, so let's cover how we install this in our mask. One of the most common questions I get, the number one question I get is, where should I install this in my mask? And the answer is, it's your choice. What I have found, and what most of my customers have determined, is mounting it inside their mask, near the center of your mask, and a little bit off to the left-hand side, and low. So what that allows me to do is I can still see up in front here, and my vision is not impaired by the Northern Star, which is down and toward the middle. Does that make sense? I also have to make sure that I can see all 4 letters. So what I recommend you do is get your Northern Star, get yourself some Scotch tape, simple Scotch tape, and play with it. Move it around and determine where you want it to be. One of the designs that I did with this particular product is when we're in a bad environment and when our adrenaline and the emergency scene is unfolding, we don't want to have to do any type of calibration of where we're at. We want to know which way we're heading. And because of the curvature of the mask, there's a chance that the Northern Star could be looking off in a direction over here. It will only tell you which way it is facing, not which way you are facing. So that is why we designed this wedge piece that is taller on one end and shorter on the other end. And we designed that to take into account the curvature of that mask. So as I'm installing this in my mask, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to install the wedge piece. Well, first I'm going to do is I'm going to play with it with Scotch tape and determine how low and how center I can get it. So I want it as low as possible, and I want it as close to the center as possible, but still able to see all 4 lights. And the only way to do that is to play around with it, take the mask, put it up to your face, and make sure that you can see all 4 lights. And then mark that spot so you know where you want it to be installed. Then I'm going to take this wedge piece and I'm going to make sure that the thick part of the wedge piece is toward the center of the mask. So because I'm going to put it on this side of my mask, the left-hand side, I'm going to make sure that the wedge piece is closest to that side. I'm hoping you can see that. Alright, so once I've determined where in my mask it's going to be, and once I determined that the wedge piece will be toward the center, or toward my nose, right, then I need to go get my 3M two-sided tape. And the hardest part of the whole installation, bar none, is trying to get this red piece of tape off of there. It's difficult, and you're going to have to play with it with your fingernail trying to get underneath there. So what my recommendation is we're going to take the red piece off, like such. So now my tape is on here. I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it onto the back of my housing, like such. And I'm going to press down, making sure it's securely adhered to. Okay? Now, the best way for this to get the best bond is to make sure we leave it alone for probably 10 or 20 minutes, allowing this to set up and cure and make sure that the adhesive attaches to the back of this housing as best as possible. So set it off to the side. While we're letting that set off to the side, let's talk about this 3M tape. This is a heat resistive tape, and it is designed so when the heat hits your face mask, it will not get gooey and it will not allow the Northern Star to fall off. So we conducted the National Fire Protection Agency, or the NFPA 1981 radiant heat test, where we put 500 degrees of heat on the lens and made sure that we did not lose the integrity of this particular tape. So it's very important to understand that this tape is designed for this exact application, and it's made by 3M again. So once we've given this 10 to 20 minutes to set up, then what we can do is we can peel off the other half, like such. And now this is the part that is going to go into your lens. And this is the part that I'm going to push onto the lens at the spot that I've already identified ahead of time. So do not use this tape to play around, because once you put it on the lens, it's not going to come off very easily after it sets up. So it's important to use Scotch tape. It's important to use some type of low adhesive tape to move it around on your lens and mark the spot that you want it. Then I'm going to pay special attention to make sure the wide part is toward the center, and then I'm going to push this into place. So this compass already has a wedge piece installed in it. Let me pop that out so I can pop out my Northern Star, and you'll see that the wedge piece is still in there. Okay, the wedge, how am I going to do this? The wider part of the wedge is toward the center, and the narrow part of the wedge is toward the side, and it's as low and as center as possible that I can still see it from the inside. So I'm going to take my wedge piece, and I'm going to press it into place on the mark that I've made. After I press it into place, I'm going to push hard with my thumb from the inside, making sure that I have a good seat. Push and hold, making sure that it has a good adherence to it. And then once I see that I have a good backing, then I have to leave my mask alone for, somewhere between 10 and 20, maybe even 30 minutes. And now I'm going to let this side of the adhesive set up and attach to the lens itself. So we need to leave it alone for a while. Once we've done that, then we're ready to put the actual Northern Star on. And that's quite simple because we've already practiced it in our hands. So here's my Northern Star. I have the battery inside. Underneath the battery clip you can see shiny side up or positive side up. And I'm simply going to take Take it like this. I'm going to push it into place so it adheres nice and tight. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it so the N is facing up. When the N is facing up, I am done, and now my Northern Star is fully attached and ready to go to work. Again, it's not on, but it's ready to go to work. So, how do we turn it on once we have it in our mask? We don't want to stick our fingers in our mask. We don't have to tap it itself. All we need to do is show it that shock. So, remember when we tapped on it and we saw that flicker of light? Instead of tapping on Northern Star, all we need to do now is just bang our mask. And when we tap our mask, it needs to be a pretty sharp tap. But when we do that, we see a flicker of light. Same thing. It was designed this way. Again, this did not come on because I didn't move it afterwards. This is the same thing as if I took my mask and I threw it up on my dashboard, or if I dropped it on the ground, or if I banged it somewhere. I don't want it to come on. But as soon as I tap it and then shake it, now it comes on. I'm hoping you can see that. So now it's on for me. The end's in the upper position. I can put my mask on, and away I go. To shut it off, set it on a table, set it on the ground. 3 minutes later, it'll be off for you. It's very simple. Now, if I wanted to change the battery in this, all I need to do is reach in with my fingers, grab on the thick part of that wedge, and just pull down. Again, don't pry, just pull down. And it comes right off. I could take out this battery, so I have my battery, simply put it in my hand, grab a different battery, take my different battery, slide it into place, take my compass, snap it into place, turn it so the N or north is facing up, and now I'm back in service. Just that simple. That's all we need to do. I tried to design this to be very, very simple for firefighters. We have enough on our plate. We have a dangerous occupation. We have to remember 1,000 different things, from smoke to fire to hazardous materials to so on and so forth. I want this device to be very simple, and I want this device to make you a better firefighter. So let's pause for a second. You guys can practice that. Practice taking it in. Practice taking it out. Get the 3M tape installed. Practice changing the battery after it's been in your mask. These are all different things that you can be practicing now as I pause the video. And then when we come back, we'll talk about actually how we can incorporate it into our firefighting procedures. Alright, I hope you had an opportunity to practice and play with this a little bit. So let's now go through how we use this in the field. And I'm going to bring up a diagram here to sort of show you what I'm talking about. So here we have a typical house, right? Something that you're probably very familiar with. Move my mug out of here. All right. So here you have a typical house, a small residential structure, and here's you as a firefighter with your Northern Star and your mask. And in this particular house, the front door, which is right here, the front door faces south. So you go inside the house and you start searching for your victims. And it's dark and it's smoky. And you've gone down the hallway and you've done a search and you come back out, and pretty soon you become disoriented, which is very simple to do, and you're not sure which way you're heading anymore. And at that point in time, your incident commander or your fire chief calls you on the radio and says, "Firefighter, there is a child trapped in the bedroom in the northeast corner of the house." And unfortunately, because you got turned around, remember, you probably came in, maybe you did a right-handed search, you went inside the room, you came back out, you did a right-handed search, you came inside the room, but somewhere along the line, you became disoriented. It can happen very, very simple. If you've been in the fire service long enough, it's very easy to get turned around. But here you are in the hallway. knowing that you need to go northeast and find the bedroom so you can rescue that child. Now, if you did not have any type of directional guidance device, if you did not have any type of compass, you would be left to guess. Now, this would be fairly simple. It's a smaller home, but we go into much larger structures as well. But time is of the essence, right? We need to move quickly and swiftly in order to save that child. With the Northern Star, you would simply turn your head left and right until the N and the E were illuminated. That way you would know that this is the direction to northeast. Now, you might hit this wall. That would be acceptable, right? And you might go up here, and you might hit another wall. Well, you know that this is the room you need to get into, and you know you're heading in the right direction. You're not guessing anymore. So I'm going to come around here until I find a door, and now I can go inside that structure, and I can rescue that child. So that's probably the most useful way that you can become a better firefighter with this small investment by putting this in your mask. You will move more efficiently and faster inside of a fire because you'll be more confident in the direction that you're going. Now, alternatively, you might go inside this fire and you might be inside this room when the conditions change and the room, maybe you have a building collapse, maybe you have a flashover, whatever the situation might be, but now your incident commander calls you and says, you need to get out of the house right now, and we have a ladder set up for you on the east end of the house. Okay, well, hopefully I've maintained my orientation, but if I have any doubt at all which way the east end of the house is, I could come out of this room being a little bit frazzled and disoriented, and I might have to guess which way the east is. And now I only have seconds to get out of this house. But because I have the Northern Star, I can simply turn my head left and right, and I would know for a fact that this is east. And I could go down here and I could find the window and I could get out of the house. We're taking the guessing game away and we're becoming better at what we do because of it. The last scenario that I've seen people use it in is when we get ourselves trapped or entangled and the firefighter has to call a mayday call. So imagine this being a large warehouse structure. We've had some very tragic deaths in the United States from firefighters who die in large structures where they go back into a room or building and they become trapped or injured and they have to call on the radio and say, mayday, 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 I need people to come and help me. I am trapped. But when the incident commander asks them where they are, they don't know. They became disoriented. So now we're sending in a crew to search wherever the place might be. We don't know where they're at, so we have to send resources all over the structure trying to look for these firefighters. If they can maintain their orientation, they can tell you that they're in the northwest corner. Or if they're lost, they probably don't need those people to come and get them at all. They could just find their way out. So we can use the Northern Star in so many different scenarios to make ourselves better. We can make ourselves better because we're searching faster and safer, but we can also get out of the structure fire, which is reducing the risk when we go inside these adverse conditions. So this is the simple way. The key to the whole thing, though, is when you're on the front step, before you go into structure, you need to take a second and realize that the front door of this particular structure faces south. Or maybe the front door on this structure faces west. We need to identify that before we go in. So as I go in and someone says, I need you to get to the back side of this structure. There's a child trapped. There's a ladder up. There's fire coming out of the roof and I need you to pull the ceiling open. That happens every single call I've ever been on. If I don't know which way the back side of the structure is, I'm guessing. Now, because I know the front of the house is west and I'm told to go to the back side of the house, I know that I can go east. And I know I can pull that ceiling with confidence knowing that I'm in the right spot. I hope that makes sense. That concludes my Northern Star Fire training. I am very open to anyone sending emails or asking questions. We can video chat. We can expound on this. We can talk about some of the questions you have. I'm very open to making sure that this is a successful product for everyone that purchases it, because I am a firefighter and I designed it for you as firefighters themselves, and I want to make you safer. So please practice, play with it, let me know what you think, ask questions if you have them. Let's figure this out together, but let's become better at what we do by maintaining our orientation. Thank you.